irritations? No more rashes and irritations. Movit Herbal Jelly and Herbal Soap is rich in natural herbs for a smooth and glowing skin.
Movit all day confidence.
A very good morning to you once again. Happy Women's Day to all the women who are watching. And of course, right here with a beautiful, phenomenal women's panel that we do have. And I want to start off with Charity. On Women's Day, for you, what rings a bell in your mind? What are those steps yet to be taken? And what do we celebrate today?
So indeed, I want to join the other women to say that, yeah, it is important to celebrate Women's Day and to reflect on the achievements and the unfinished business. The theme, I have seen different themes across, and unfortunately I'm not going just to talk like a mother. Yes, I am a mother, I'm a wife, I'm all those things. But I'm not going to talk like that because you heard me, I told you I'm a political scientist. So many times things come from leadership to affect what we end up having.
Exactly.
And that is why I got into a space that not many women get into. So if you look at the numbers, they are ugly, okay? In terms of defilement, in terms of disempowerment of women, and structured via stereotypes. So there is a lot of unfinished business when I think about Women's Day. And when I think about the women's voice being kept off the leadership scene, I realize that we continue to perpetuate spaces for women which are not they're not necessarily the places that women should be in. So I will start off by telling you a small story. I was working in Kapelebyong on democracy and election work. We had gone to observe elections in Kapelebyong. And when we got there, instead I jumped onto a woman issue because there was a mother who had left 2 little girls in the house and gone for a burial. And everybody in the neighborhood knew this woman had gone for a burial. Mildred loves stories. When I started to tell this story, she stopped what she was doing and looked at me. So when she left these 2 girls, the neighbor, the man, he knew these 2 girls were in the house. One girl was 10 years old, the other one was 4 years old. But he defiled both, not raped, he defiled both girls. Now I get into Kapelebyong, and of course we are doing voter mobilization and whatever. And when I get to the police station, there is a story. Oh, these 2 girls were defiled last night. Their mom was not in the house, and the man has been left to go, and the police is just here looking on. I said, you guys, are you crazy? Are you okay in your heads? I had to create a scene at the Kapelebyong police station. I forgot about elections. I got onto the women rally. I said, these girls have to go to hospital, and they have to go now. And I said, you, the policemen here, you're going to be apprehended for the things that you're doing because you're supposed to ensure that these girls get justice. Their mom is not yet back. They are here, they are bleeding. 2 small little things. Huh? You don't know how much fire there is down in their private parts. Okay? So I was so mad. I spent that day racing between police station and like a small health center to see that these girls were helped. Michael Itomane, Padiem, what all went into helping these girls. Now, unfortunately, I had to leave the next day. And leave I did, and left them where? At the clinic. Their mother had not yet returned. I kept trying to see how can I get back to them. They had no phone. They had, there's no way I could get to them. The only person I could get to was the police. And every time I asked the police, so have you got the man? Ah, he's on the run. Have you got the man? Oh, he's on the run. Can you imagine? This is what the police does. So on a day like Women's Day, I want people to sit back and reflect. What are the things that have happened in your community? You've ignored them. You're a man. You were supposed to invest. One of the themes is invest in a woman. Do what? Accelerate growth. Now, if you're going to invest in a woman, how are you investing in that woman? I'm going to give you another scenario now, a very good, rosy scenario. And that is the new appointment of the head of Uganda AIDS Commission. She's called Ruth Senyonyi.
Yeah.
Ruth, her husband, had to invest in her time and also had to invest in her academically to see that she got her doctorate and went to that university, and he made time. And they've told this story many times at All Saints Cathedral and in Amerebe Cathedral, how the man had to stay back to look after the family. So the woman had to do her PhD, she had to study, and he was supporting her all this time. And he supported her. Now here she is, she's going to head Uganda AIDS Commission. So men just sit there and they think the woman will just fly without you supporting her. But are you investing time? Have you invested academically? And then when they see the ones that are actually struggling on their own to make it, they impede them. They stand in their way. They say, you can't go to that radio station. Patricia had told you that you can't go to that TV station. So what do you call yourself? You have attitude. But it's not attitude. Every woman that is out there, every voice you hear of a woman, it represents many other women. It gives hope to another girl that is in school, that is starting out, that she too can sit in those places. That she too, and I speak from a place of passion because I know that women have been blocked. Yeah. I am a making of my father because he believed. He said, I know you will be a great person. I know you can make it. He has 5 boys. 5. We are 3 girls. 5 boys. So he had to balance between the arc of the 5 boys and the 3 girls. But he always looked at the strength of his children and said, okay, this one can be this, can be this. And he always took his time to invest time, knowledge, and push you to go and study. Amen out there, and I look at the camera. If you were a man, if you were a husband, if you were a father, are you pushing your daughter to school? Are you supporting her?
Sure.
In this period of Kamuli, girls don't have pads.
Sure.
They struggle, they go to school. And then while they are going to school during those months, they're feeling sick. You know, it's different for different women. There's some women who will be fine, very fine, and live with it, but there's some women who will really actually be sick. How do you expect a girl to go and sit in class? How do you expect her to go and attain the same grades like the boy if you don't support her? So if you're a father and you think these are trivial matters, very small, petty matters, I challenge you today. If you were a husband and you think these are petty matters, I challenge you today. You must support that woman. I know of a woman in Kampala, and elitist men. I am so disappointed in most of elitist men. Today, on International Women's Day, I want to speak to men who have gone to school, and they pretend that because they went to school, they know about these things of women. You don't. You don't have an idea about women emancipation. And I want to challenge men. I want to challenge them from this perspective. I know of a woman who is married to an educated man. Both of them have degrees. He gave birth, he produced 7 children with this woman. The moment she had the 7th child, he's no longer interested. He's now jumping all over with other women and ignoring the fact that she has carried 7 children for him and is looking after them. She has even failed to get a job for herself. She's on one diaper to a next. I'm explaining things women go through.
That's true.
So from a leadership perspective, wherever we sit as leaders, we should not forget that the deficits, they still exist. And we must work twice as hard. And every time we find ourselves with our backs against the wall, we should remember we pull ourselves up to help another woman. She said it. Anita said, let women help other women.
That's true.
But even if women are not going to help other women, can the men who are in those spaces take the challenge?
All right, thank you very much, Charity. And I hear you when you speak from that point of passion, because it is very true. What happens, people will paint a totally different picture in the camera, and what happens back in their homes is totally different. And some women cannot even speak out because they think they will not be heard. And I want to bring it still on what Charity brought it up on to you, Sheila. Women in leadership roles. We've had affirmative action, of course, that has taken up the stand of the women, but we've also had all the women right here are leaders in particular organizations. Some people have believed or thought that sometimes it's more of tokenism, especially when it gets to women in politics. do they actually have the power? Do they, when we get to say, oh, the speaker is a woman, or the vice president is a woman, or the prime minister is a woman, does it translate into that empowerment because those women are in the positions of leadership?
Yes. Originally, of course, now for me, I celebrate all women leaders.
Yeah.
On International Women's Day, we say Happy Women's Day, Happy Women Leaders.
Yeah.
Because, well, people who think it's tokenism, originally were not there. When I was growing up, I knew one woman who was, I think she was called Mary Senkatuka. Those of us in the 70s, she's one woman we had heard of in leadership. So when the current government, when Yoweri Museveni took power in 1986, and we had just come out of the Nairobi conference, which had happened, International Women's Conference, which had happened in Nairobi in 1985. Those were historical moments because when they had gone for the International Women's Conference, then we had a coup. Women came back. Some of them had to smuggle themselves back into the country. So I was still in my secondary school. But when Museveni came to power, there was the agitation, the push to have women appointed into leadership. Why? The women were the most gallant soldiers in Luwero. Sometimes we are asking, where are these women leaders? I remember I was married to a soldier who was also in Luwero. So I would ask him, where are those women commanders? Who commanded the fall of Kampala? Who commanded? Why don't we talk about them? Where did they happen? Oh, you see, some of them, they became badly behaved and they got pregnant. Who impregnated them, I don't know. It was men or women.
Being pregnant was badly behaved.
It was bad manners. We are not supposed to get pregnant. But you know, we don't get pregnant by ourselves. So the struggle for having women in leadership started then. There were those women we looked up to. I was still at university. And when we came out, I joined ACFOD. These women were so strong. The Miriam Atembes, the Joyce Impanga. I remember she was appointed as our first minister. It was all celebration. Just having one at a time. Gertrude Biekwaso, I think, was also a minister. So one at a time, seeing the Mirias, the Winnie Bianyimas, the Cecilia Ogwals. So eventually, they got women into the NRC, the first NRC, which was the tantamount to a parliament. We advocated, we continued to get women on the Constitutional Commission, Miria and I think Mary Maito. So these women, now, for us who are coming after them, just looking at them, oh my God, you know these women, I also want to be in
like
that
them.
space. So we kept on wanting to be like them, talking like them, being able to do what they do. You sit with them and they tell you, you know, I'm a PhD holder. It gives you that, I need a PhD. I think I need a master's. I think having the, so we had never seen these women. Our mothers never had degrees, for goodness sake. So there were no people to look up to. So we looked up to these women. We got our master's degree. We got, Patricia is a doctor with a PhD. So having the women in these women's spaces, they may make mistakes. We may criticize them. I don't care. They are there, and our children, our daughters are watching them, and they want to be like them. By the time, these men have been in leadership, for goodness sake, for how long? Forever. And they still make the same blunders, and we don't talk about them. But because we are so few out there, you are like a white chicken among the black ones. So everybody will see whatever you do, you're criticized for it. Please, let's forgive these women. They are in those leadership positions, maybe less than 30 years in those leadership positions. They are grappling with the men's space. I've been there. I was in parliament. It was the most traumatizing period of my life. That you stand up to say, you know, you begin like, Mr. Speaker, sir, you're going to give a submission. And somebody says, Mr. Speaker, point of order. Then you're looking like, what have I done? Mr. Speaker, sir, now these were form up, is the honorable member in order to say? Then you're like, I think I'm not in order.
So put yourself back in order.
Honorable Kawamara, then you're like, I think I wasn't in order. You sit down. Yeah? So there was a lot of bullying in that space until somebody told us, read the rules of Parliament. The rules, big book. So they said, just read a few of the rules and know how to put yourself out of that embarrassing position. We did. I did a PhD in rules of Parliament, rules of procedure. After that, somebody says, Mr. Speaker, is the honorable member in order to say this? I say, Mr. Speaker, sir. They say, okay, Honorable Kamara. I say, Mr. Speaker, sir, would the honorable member cite the rule under which then the honorable member sits back and they say, Honorable Kamara, proceed. We learned how to deal with that space, but it takes time. It takes time because we were not trained to be in the public space. We were trained, I remember my mother would say, whatever you are trying to do, remember you'll be somebody's wife. And my God, I felt like, I don't want to be just someone's wife. I don't want to be just someone's wife. I want to be somebody in this country called Uganda. And so we were not given the skills of public office. And yet, we were given the skills of managing society. Management was given to the girls. The boys were never given any skills in management. And I wonder what business they are doing in management. That's why there is mismanagement. Because whenever our parents were leaving home, they left us in charge. They tell you this food is for the whole week. You manage the food. The boy doesn't know how to manage. Just leave a husband for 2 days. You'll find nothing in the house and he's saying, I don't know how you manage these people, because they were never given the skills. So even the so-called public management, the women were given the skills, the men were not, unfortunately.
Okay. Dr. Patricia, you were in a position of leadership, and yeah, we're excited when we get to see the women in leadership. You're in the boardrooms, but what is the feel in there? What is the reality in there? And what more needs to be done to encourage or even promote more women into leadership positions? But also for those who are there, how do we keep them up? How do we support them?
I would just like to anchor mine on what Sheila was saying.
Yeah.
When I just started with the idea of perhaps going there, I learned that it's not about the issue, it's about the numbers. That's one of the first things I learned about policy. Because at the end of the day, you vote. You can say, oh, you can articulate all these beautiful issues. Then the eyes have it, you know, yeah? It's about numbers. So Sheila is right to say that the numbers do matter. And of course, there are challenges. The question is, what do we do about these gaps? I just like the way she's presented it, because maybe I was one of those who was overly unforgiving about why aren't they like Miriam? Why aren't they like Sheila? You know, why aren't we reading? But then you also look at the way women are brought into parliament. Yes, we wanted numbers, but we didn't think that we needed to do something about the numbers. I mean, just like the theme this year in all its different facets, it's about economic empowerment. For so long, we were preaching other things that we didn't realize, oh, it's about the money, simply put. So, yes, we need women in leadership. I am there. I don't feel different, but this is me. I am sort of, yes, this is me. I don't easily feel uncomfortable around men. So maybe that question is not appropriate for me, but what I do know is that I need to be oriented. Like Sheila says, you know, they just throw you in there. Yes, and then they start criticizing you. Of course, a woman wouldn't have managed it. We need a man in that position, what? And the man is making the same mistakes. So here you are, the way we elect women into parliament is in a strange way. So you know she has gaps. What are we doing to prepare her to occupy these spaces?
Oh, sure.
Do we guide them? I remember as a young woman getting into these spaces, I remember some of the trainings we had on public speaking. Yes, I could speak, but is that how to speak in public?
Yes.
Is that how to dress? I know I always joke about the executive director, and now I'm her boss, but we always thought about how I dressed.
She's actually watching, and she wishes you all
I
a
always
happy
tell her this.
Women's Day.
We always thought about how I dress. Like, Patricia, it matters. It took me quite a bit to understand the point she was making, because unfortunately for a woman, I'm judged by my appearance before anything else.
Yeah, sure.
So she's like, nobody will listen to you. You might be the most articulate, and they're just looking at your hair, at what. And I've seen this manifesting in presidential campaigns. There's always this one woman, and it's about her hair, and it's about her shoes, and there are men shabbily dressed and nobody is talking about how they're dressed, but they talk about their issues. Oh, he made this very good point. Some boys or men playing around and it is okay. But the woman, just your hair that faced the other side. That is it. That is it. So Through Margaret, I learned that how I appeared mattered. So I've got to make the effort and then say the issues. So we've got to prepare women. Power dressing is important. Those are one of the things I was taught. And nobody tells you this. So you're promoted the next day and everyone is making a joke about you. And then the issues, how do you present? Unfortunately, as a woman, we're emotional. And one of the things I've learned along the way, you know, like this was always, and you're even crying, you're a woman. Yes, I'm a woman, I'm emotional, I am built like that. At this period of the month, I'm irritable. How do I manage it? Women accepting those challenges we have and how to manage it should be one of the things women are prepared for. Because in the boardroom, it's not about tears. It's about what are you articulating. And then when you have to vote for issues, and being a woman is not sufficient, yes? You must know the issues. You must be able to articulate them. You must learn politics. Yeah? You know, all of us, oh, I don't want politics. I don't want to go. There's politics everywhere. One of the greatest experience I've learned in the last 1.5 years is that I happened to work with Rural Electrification Agency as head communication, and it's one of the first victims of rationalization of government, and they closed the organization. And we're all fighting to be taken into Ministry of Energy and things like that. And we thought it's what made the eye. I realized it's not about my papers. Yes? It's about who I know. The people making the decisions, do they want me on board? What little things do I need to do? And I was so disappointed to learn that in this age and time, some of us were sleeping around. And I'm like, I will be on the street. I passed that one.
Yeah, sure.
But you know, you've got to learn how to navigate these waters. The sharks are there. They will eat you. The crocodiles are there, and women were never prepared for this. And like, as Sheila said, we're prepared to be managers, but in a very safe space. Of course, that space is not that safe, but the home is assumed it's the safest place. Yes, but sometimes it's not that safe. But it is cruel out there in the working world. And women should come knowing, I've got to fight, I've not got to learn the politics, I've got to learn that it's not about who I know. It's not about my right. It's not about what I deserve. It's what I negotiate and fight for.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And Dr. Patricia, you talked about something, although it could have passed, certainly the women who think sleeping around will get them to where they are. Yes, sometimes it does get them for a very temporal time, but unfortunately later on things get to backfire. I want us to take a very short break. Anita, I'll be starting with you, of course, and Charity will be speaking about leadership and what her experience has been. Has it baptism by fire, or it's been a roller coaster ride? Let's get back after this.
Fuka Dawn.
Change your life with a salary loan. Access up to 400 million. And watch your dreams come true with Housing Finance Bank. Fuka Dawn.
Fuka Dawn.
Fuka Dawn. Access up to 400 million shillings in just 48 hours from Housing Finance Bank with ease. Simply apply for the HFB salary loan today and have all your dreams come true. Terms and conditions apply. Housing Finance Bank is regulated by Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund. Housing Finance Bank. We make it easy.
Unlock the secrets of insurance during the 2024 Annual Insurance Week from March 11th to March 14th at Railway Grounds. Understand policy jargon and discover the benefits of various policies. Get a one-on-one insights from industry experts to make informed decisions when making a claim. Whether you're a business owner, a family person, or an individual striving for success, this is your chance to enhance your understanding of risk management. Don't miss the climax on March 15th at Kampala Serena Hotel, featuring the Annual Insurance Innovation Awards, live on NBS Television. Organized by Insurance Regulatory Authority of Uganda in partnership with the Uganda Insurers Association, the Insurance Training College, the Insurance Brokers Association of Uganda, the Uganda Agro Consortium, the Uganda RE, the Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda, and the Innovation Village. IRA Uganda, driving insurance growth.
Rachel Rich. The Queen Cobra, the password of the money, the original no spare parts, the 11th commandment, the question and the answer.
Osmosis. I know you want money, but I'm also broke.
Ah, no. Money is not an object. These days, Momo sorts me out anytime. In fact, my sister, let me also sort you out.
Really?
I've just sent you instructions on how to get a loan on Momo. I'm here for you. Can I borrow some chips?
When you need a loan, you've got MTN Momo. We're sorting it. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
This Saturday, 9th of March 2024, don't miss a documentary on the plight of women in conflict situations in the Rwenzori and northern regions of Uganda. Female victims of conflicts will highlight on their plight and what needs to be done to make transitional justice processes and actions more gender inclusive. Airing live on NBS TV between 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. and sponsored by Rwenzori Forum for Peace and Justice, RFPJ, and Foundation for Justice and Development Initiatives, FJDI.
It's in the air! Will that be safe? Announce!
He's done it! What a magnificent performance!
Recharge your day with Sting. Extreme energy, refreshing taste, available countrywide. Sting, life switched on, from the makers of Pepsi.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you the Tuko Pamoja Ango and Ateker segment. Did you know the Ateker are Jewish? How did they become Karamojong, Iteso, and Lango?
They now entered from Utuke
and occupied the land now called Lango.
Lango were really one of the most organized military force.
Kavalega, together with Mwanga,
ran for safety in Kangai.
They fought for one day.
Premiering in March on Sunday 10th, 2024 at the National Theatre from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko Pamoja?
Introducing the all-new Roofing's TMX 500C rebars with cut and bend surfaces. Roofing's, strength of a nation.
Okay, welcome back. Thank you so much for keeping it right here with us on the Morning Breeze Media Roundtable. And today, the conversation is definitely rotating with regard to women and as the celebration of Women's Day, but also having a special focus on women in leadership role and how they are changing all those traditional dynamics that did exist before. Still with my very brilliant, beautiful panel. I have Anita, I have Charity, I have Sheila, as well as Dr. Patricia. And it all starts with you on the aspect of leadership. And they normally say breaking the glass ceiling. Has the glass been broken or we have just created cracks so far in leadership?
Well, I think we are breaking it. And but one thing I must say right from the onset is that women have to do extra in order to be anything.
I hear you.
You've got to work double hard. I think, was it Sheila or Charity who said that some women have to sleep around?
Yeah,
But
Dr.
even
Patricia
doing
actually, yeah.
that, they have to, you know, I don't think it's something that they really want to do.
Yeah.
But they've got to do it, and it's a tough one. I believe it's a tough one on them.
It is.
Now, when you are in spaces which are competitive, like with men, or you want to get in there, you have to work double hard, because those men will always be there who will say, you think your principles will pull you through. I remember way back when I was a young girl in Radio Uganda, and I had to face very stiff competition. The men in there used to say, you think you'll live by your principles, you think your principles will take you anywhere from where you started, which means you had to sleep around. But I said no. Unfortunately, my father had given me a very good background. He believed in girls like he believed in boys. So he was very supportive in whatever you want to do. I said I wanted to be a journalist, and he said, yes, you can make it. You go and fight your way out there. So personally, I've been a fighter. I've been a fighter, and as you know, women, we still have the domestic roles to do, those societal limits that they've put there. Whatever you are doing, you are struggling with a job, but you still have the other roles to fulfill. So all in all, you find that a woman has to be working double hard. And where you are performing in the job, you are still judged. And they say, oh, how did this happen? After all, she's just a woman. She's
very unfortunate.
Not she's a woman, but she's just a woman. So you've got to work hard and struggle through all those criticism and discouragements, and then, you know, make it to the top. My own struggle has been a tough one, you know. I've been a pusher of my own, you know, struggling. If you see there's something that you want to do, a job that you see out there, work hard. Improve your education. Improve your status. Don't fear to compete with the men. It sometimes calls for being aggressive. Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's very true. Push, add some value to yourself. You know, the president talks about value addition to agricultural products. But please, women, this is the time for us to add value onto ourselves. Is it a certificate? Is it a diploma, a degree? Whatever it is, that training, you need to achieve it. And Charity, I'll still get to you with regard to women in leadership roles and how we can actually be able to turn around the situation away from, like the statement Anita made, oh, she's just a woman anyway. Yeah.
So how do we turn it round? I think the first step of turning it round is to look at your strength. Everybody has a strength, everybody has a weakness, but you know who you are as a person. And then after you've identified your strength, work towards making it stand out. It's not an easy journey, but I think that's what Sheila explained when she said she would look at all these important women go around carrying their bags, because she identified her strength and she realized she wanted to be in a certain place and she had to work towards it. Now, if you're going to work towards remaining in leadership, you also have to know how to play the politics and play it right. And I'm going to tell you another small story. When I was at Makerere University during my first degree, I became president of the Political Science Association. President, not deputy president. But this is how I became president. I got the boys. They were the ones who were the most rowdy. And they're the ones who had the numbers. And they had the candidate who was going to win. So I got the boys and made them my friends. And the most noisy one, who had all the support of most of the men, became my best friend. I put him in my bag. I made sure he was very close to me. And then he went around saying, you guys, these other men here, they are not going to deliver. The real person who is going to be our president is going to be Charity. And he turned around people for me. I had to identify who is there who is going to run away with my agenda. There are good men out there. One just sent me a message, may women continue to lead with compassion. It's called Sam, and they said, Happy Women's Day, Bambaza. He's done very well, Babans. And I think that there are men who are there, who are ready to support women, and there are men who are actually supporting women, and they wonder why women keep whining. They whine because they find others who do not do exactly the same thing. So if you want to stay in a leadership position, you're going to identify who is for your agenda and how do you achieve the agenda. Now, Sheila told you about second-rate citizenry for women. That every time you have a panel, it is the first time you're having a woman panel here entirely. Every time it's Women's Day, then all panels are women, women, women. But UMWA has just put out a research that shows that actually women hardly appear on any panel. They said the men appear 82%.
That's true.
Of the time, and the women hardly appear. And they had reasons. When we called the men to have the conversation, they told us that, you know, when you call a woman, she says, I'm going to pick children. She says, I'm busy. She says,
I can give that experience as well, because I wanted us to, that is a very true statistic, and it's very absurd. But of course, for a morning show, for example, they'll tell you, oh, now I need to take the children, I need to prepare for the morning. And then when it's night, it is very late. And because the shows are either very early in the morning or very late in the night. And I think it also goes to what Anita talked about, the other societal, you know, things.
Happy to see me at night on TV.
So late in the night.
But I'll get back to you. Yes,
So that statistic is there to help us speak into it. And when we ask, this is a man who was now talking, saying, you know, that is the reason why we don't have women there. Because when we call them, this is what they are telling us. So now the question then comes to the men who are supporting women. Can you support her every once in a while to be in that space which she has to be in? Can you ensure that, okay, this time for me, I will stay back and help her with what she was supposed to do, so she goes to that TV show if she must support another girl? Patricia said it, Sheila said it, that the girls are looking out for which woman is out there, who can I look up to? When I decided to go back to school to do this degree that I'm doing, you don't know how many young girls have walked to me and said, oh my God, it's you, Charity, who is here. Oh my God, you're going to mentor me, you're going to mentor me. And I know that there are eyes who are watching. You know that song, they are watching you, marking all you do and hearing the things you say. But there are times when I also have to be me. I have to joke, I have to laugh, I have to crack jokes with the rest of them. And I tell them, look, it doesn't mean that when you're in a leadership space, you're going to change from whom you are. Now, the other thing that I thought that I must talk to women about is, while in leadership, you have to know how to manage your emotions. Patricia mentioned it and said, look, the boardroom is not a place to break down. Some people are moved by tears, but others are very happy when you cry. After all, you have cried. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. Why? Go hide yourself in the bathroom, break down there first, cry properly. Done, come back, be the shrewd one that you always are. Even be 10 times worse than you have been. But you know where you're headed. Sometimes emotion will work, sometimes it won't work. So you must know how to deal with yourself. You know when you are at your weakest point and when you can't go out. There are times when I will not accept to go to a certain space, when I realize that I might snap, I might lose it, I might get overboard. I pull back and I say no. And then when there are times when I deliberately choose to go overboard, because at that point I want to make a point.
Yeah.
There's a day I was on Radio 1 and a man was trying to put me down. And I decided, no, I was going to fight for my space. And I actually went on and fought for my space until people said, who has hiked Charity to this extent? The radios were first switched off because now, yes, I had made my point. When I came back, I settled back into the same person that I usually am. But I had to go off such that he didn't think he was just going to get away with it.
Yeah.
There's times when you have to create the barrier. So even for women in leadership, there are those positions. Now we have places that we have won for ourselves. We have a vice president, we have a speaker, we have a prime minister. When you are serving in these places that you know men served in and left a certain record, can you soar above that record? If you can't soar above that record, can you mobilize people around you to support you to achieve that record? Because every time you do not achieve that space for the women, you cede that space back to the men. So just like democracy is a struggle for space. So is women in leadership. Every time you relegate on your duty to do what you are supposed to do in the fashion you're supposed to do it, people have compared the Honorable Nabanja to previous prime ministers. We had Ruhakana Rugunda, a very impeccable man who served in that position, and the way he played his politics. They have compared her to Amama Mbabazi, the Honorable Amama Mbabazi. Those of you who remember him as Prime Minister, you even know Prime Minister's moment on the floor of Parliament was another issue. And I'm not saying Nabanja would not have lived up to the billing, but people have said it and they continually say it. She has failed to live to the billing. What can she do? Rise to the occasion. Rise to the occasion. The president has given you the opportunity. He says, yes, people had minimized her, and so for me, I decided, let me give her this role, even if I've chosen my fisherwomen. Meanwhile, him, when he was appointing, he said, I have fishermen and fisherwomen. So she already went with the brand. He said it himself. She was supposed to break that brand and prove to him that I'm more than just a fisherwoman. I can do much more. So she was supposed to sit in that role and quickly see how to turn it around for her. Every woman in whatever space, when I became executive director of SEDU, I was of course being compared with Kaheru. He had been there before. What had he done? What was very important? Were you going to achieve anything? Was anyone going to pay attention to you anyway? I had to push myself to a certain position. And of course, the men kept saying, well, I am not going to pay attention to what she's saying. And there was a lot of internal battle, but I knew that I will stick to what I am doing and I will do it right. Yeah. And even if I leave, I know what I have learned and I can still move right. And I'm still in the space.
Thank you very much. Dr. Patricia, there is one aspect that always comes through. Whether orchestrated by the men or it is actually a reality or we just remain silent about it. We were earlier talking about women uplifting other women and pushing them and promoting them. Then comes the other side of women actually fighting fellow women, creating a barrier for them in particular spaces. Can we talk about that too?
Yes, I can speak to that because as a young woman coming into the work world, the first thing I heard is that women are the worst leaders. They will take you down because you have a better shoes than the boss. She's a woman. And some of these came to pass.
Oh, they see you as a threat anyway.
Yes, but they said women are petty and they don't want you to dress better than your boss and what. And as late as 2 years ago, it's so strange. I worked with government and I remember we traveled to Dubai and I was with my minister, who is also female, and we went shopping with a male colleague. And I love beautiful things and quality. And so I moved with him and he told me, those dresses you're buying, why are you competing with the principal?
Oh dear.
I told him I can afford it. And I have my own tastes and preferences. But already there's that narrative and people are aware that if you're going to outshine your boss who's female, looking better dressed, Yeah, so that's another issue. So the fact that it is there and people refer to it, there must be an aspect. And that's the pettiest thing. It should be the pettiest thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I should say, oh, beautiful dress, where can I get one like
Yes.
that? Who is your
Yes.
tailor? Or whatever it is. But it's always the other way around. So there's that thing always about women. I also love beautiful cars. The cars they call an inside jar.
Motor car
You know?
inside.
And so I have this car, one of my cars, this one's called Bafude. And I remember starting to work at Rural Electrification Agency, and I parked in front of workers' house. And everyone was like, hey. And then it has this thing where it goes, ta, 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 and sits down. Yeah, you know that hydraulic system. But anyway, someone told me, who is your husband? You've just worked here for 2 weeks and you're driving that car. Because when I first arrived, I was in a much smaller car. And just in 2 weeks, I had this car. Do you really think I bought this car in these 2 weeks? You either stole our money or you have a rich husband or a rich father.
Sure.
Then I'm like, oh, I'm a very rich girl. I have a rich heart, you know, and I work for what I have. But you see, there are also those perceptions that if you should be at a certain level. You know, for me, economic empowerment has always been a driving force for me. I go for the best. I want the best. If I can't have it, well and good, but I'll try to get it. So already there's the way I was being judged. It's either my husband's car,
or you stole money.
or I
to
have
buy it.
stolen the money, or it is my father, or I have borrowed it, yes? And they always ask me, so your husband allowed you to drive this car? I'm like, no, this is my car, you know? So you know, there are little things like that. So yes, women have the pull her down. Why does she think? And the little struggle I told you about the restructuring, where people are like, who does she think she is? And I remember someone coming to tell me, oh, people are saying that, what is so special about you? Because this restructuring was weird. I was the first person identified to go sit at the Ministry of Energy, and hell broke loose. Like, I was an enemy to everyone I left behind and everyone I found the other because of the position I arrived at. And we had this meeting, and someone boldly, and I like bold people because I am, asked me, but what is so special about you? And I looked at her in the eye, and I told her, show me one person in this organization that has a PhD. If there's nothing else special about little Patricia, she is the only PhD holder, and that speaks for something.
Very little.
You know? So, you know, you must have self-awareness. I know people try to bring you down, you know, and they were trying to bring me down like, really? There's nothing special about me? Okay, if you don't see the other things that I'm a God's beautiful creature, let me tell you the obvious one. I am Dr. Patricia Little. Show me someone else. So we must know what our strength is, stand by it, be proud about it, and like she said, please, live to the occasion, deliver.
Yeah.
Deliver. Yes.
Don't just exist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, deliver. And don't be a populist. Do your work, but of course know the politics. So it does matter, and women will bring each other down. And of course, everyone says she must have slept with so-and-so.
They
She
always
must
think
have,
so.
oh yes. You hear those stories. No, I don't think she got it. Is she even that
It can't
good?
be innocent.
And when you do something good, or she must have hired someone. Like, the way I was trained to be a communicator, and those of you from that, or maybe these days there's a lot of speciality. You're taught everything. I remember I went to UMI, dark room, how to develop a photo in that. I mean, how many people can do that today? I think that's an obsolete technology. You're taught how to be in the field and record and run and do what you know. I was taught all these things. So for you to think that someone behind the scenes is doing my work for me, and then I just present it, ask me about it.
Okay.
So
Sheila has something to say to
it's
that.
A
really funny
rejoinder for
because-
journalism.
Yes, for journalism.
Because you go write the story, edit it, put it on the page, do everything.
Everything you're taught.
Yes.
But also there are so many stereotypes about women. And as I said earlier, that we are so few, so all our mistakes are amplified, over-amplified. I've worked with men, and I had 3 brothers after me. So most of my life, I've spent it with men. And I've seen how men fight to pull each other down. But then they will say the
they're
syndrome
ruthless.
is with the women because we are so few. So men also pull each other down very, very badly. And we've seen these shows. You've seen how Museveni, those pulling him down, even if he will never do anything right. So the same. these are the challenges within the leadership
leadership.
space. And as women, we need to be very careful because so many people watch us. We are so few in the leadership position, and we need to support each other. So when you find a sister in leadership, try to, I would say, to befriend her. Because this sister is up there, she has struggled so hard against, to get to that top, she has really struggled. Some of them are bitter with the world, and they need support.
Yes, you've gone through so much.
We need
through a lot.
Yes, you need psychological
But they need
support.
support.
Yes.
Trauma counseling.
Oh, yes.
It is so
They have
traumatic.
Yeah, you're wounded.
Yeah, your buffalo is wounded, yes. You
Here
can
comes
run down
a
it.
young one who she's trying, you think she's trying to show off. They are going also to pull her down.
Attitude,
and what-
you know.
So it is really an issue of trauma because we come from very traumatic experiences as a girl child. You struggle. By the time you get to university, those of us who went to university, you've gone through fire. The boys, you remember the things they used to tell us? If you really tried to study and outsmart them, they would say you're the ugly one.
Very ugly.
And then you begin saying, oh my God. Some of us dropped out of sciences because they said it is
The
the
sciences
ugly
for
girls,
ugly girls, yeah.
who
Who
do
study
sciences
sciences.
and math. So you had to pretend to be
don't
dumb.
want to be
so
associated.
you don't want to understand mathematics because they will say
So
you are
that you're
ugly.
considered beautiful.
Oh my God,
Every
Sheila.
girl wants to
Yes.
be beautiful.
And that's a stereotype.
Yes.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
a
It is a
stereotype.
So by the time we get up to the top, you are wounded.
Yes.
And everybody will see you not wanting other women to
You're
get
tough,
there.
you're
you're
what, you're unapproachable, you're
so you're
horrible.
unapproachable. You've really learned that in order to survive,
Yes.
I have to be the hardened one.
Yeah.
And now the younger ones see you as unapproachable.
Yes.
So I think to me, it is an issue of trying to help us, and even in the schools where they teach, leadership should be compulsory.
Really,
Leadership
yes.
training.
Should be
so that
compulsory, yes.
These girls, we are the majority. Women are the majority. We should have institutions which groom women into leadership. We are just put there. Eh? You, by default, you find
Yes.
yourself, you are a chief editor. Who trained you? By default, you are a minister, a prime minister. Eh? One day I wake up and Sheila, you have been appointed vice president. Do I know? I am not used to moving in a convoy. So
You run
all
into and
these
they're
are
like,
challenge
wait.
shocks.
They have
They are
to open for you
shocks.
that door.
You are now struggling with your bodyguards. You are saying, I will carry my bag.
Bag,
Somebody is saying, no, I'm the
I
one
have
who
to
carries
carry
the
it.
bag.
Unacceptable,
So all
yeah.
these are like traumatic experiences.
Okay.
And then when you go back home, you're supposed to be somebody's wife.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And
somebody's
actually,
wife.
in international law, the diplomats, there's a whole training on diplomacy.
Yeah, sure.
And how
You remember Anam training for
Exactly.
which was, satellised. But I want to speak, as we go to speak about one aspect. All of us are here able to articulate, able to speak, one, because of the support that we've received, but also an education. Now, as looking at the recent USCE results and looking at the number of girls being less than the number of boys, but also according to the UDHS report yesterday, it did say 9 of women and 4 of men have no formal education. Now, you see the percentage of women is actually higher. And while 7% of women and 12% of men have more secondary education, still, the women's secondary education level goes low. And Charity, what policies should be in place to particularly make it compulsory or make it tenable for a girl to actually be and stay in school? Because they can be in school, the dropout rate is also different.
And actually, that's a very difficult one to think through, because when you are talking about the teenage pregnancies and the places, early marriage places like Omoro, Omoro is one of those districts where majority of the girls have been married off at 12, 10, 11, 13. I have a 13-year-old, so when I talk about these things, sometimes I feel like crying. Emotion now comes, but I have to control that emotion. It is so bad. How do I, 13, what are you doing?
Yeah, your baby at 13.
What
Being
are
a
you-
wife to someone.
And going to bear another child, and you're given away by society. I will not go there, because that's the only, those are the places that make me emotional, those are the places that make me cry. And I think that's why I went to the political world, because there are rogues, only rogues where you only stay without crying.
Okay.
With this side, you will cry a lot. Now, so what do we need to do? And I think the first stop for the government, because a government is constituted to serve its people. The first stop for the government is to do a complete baseline survey and a study that will capture the numbers accurately for two issues: early marriages and teenage pregnancies. Now, once that is captured, don't start your story of contraception, not just yet. I know people have argued for that contraception story. We grew up when there were child pregnancies and early marriages. They were there. But we have reached where we are without having child pregnancy. What will need to be done urgently will be sensitization. Sensitize and don't get tired. Sensitize the parents, sensitize the young girls, ensure that UPE is actually working. Because it was not working. Children go to school and drop out because they don't have food. I talked about pads. I told you, you go to Busoga, the girls were being taught how to make pads out of soil, such that during that time they have soil, they have put on a cavera on top, and then they have a cloth as the third thing, and then they use that. This video made rounds on social media, so they are dropping out because of that. So how do you support? You may not support Kampala schools because the parents in Kampala might afford to support their children and be able to buy what they need to use during sanitary times. But can you support the children in the hard-to-reach areas? You're saying, how do we keep them in school? Support them that way. Or teach them to make the pads with cloth. And have somebody who sits there on her sewing machine to do them for the girls, so they will stay in school. We need tenable solutions. And then the women rights organizations, support them because they're already in that space, trying to help government. So support them other than look at them with political lenses and keep saying, oh, so now they are there because they are changing politics. They are now people power. They are now DP. They are wearing blue. They are wearing yellow. Forget about that. What is the bigger story? The bigger story is girls are dropping out, they're getting married early, and they're getting early pregnancies. So you want more training for the girls, you want conscientization for the parents, support these women rights organizations. The Ministry of Gender is one of the most underfunded ministries. And one of those ministries which now it looks like we are no longer interested in. In fact, even the other day, one of the campaigns we are doing with FIDA is that the president pardoned 25 men on defilement. The president seemed to be saying, and those men, some of them had 2 years, 3 years, he seemed to be saying, now defilement is okay. There is a message you send when you do certain things. And I look now back into that camera and I ask the president that please remember that women issues are also human rights. Women rights are human rights. You started the journey well, don't begin to sleep on it.
All right, thank you very much. Anita, on the issue of education, women's education, very key, girl-child education.
I feel that we need to do more to be very intentional about the girl child. There are those who are getting, early pregnancies, yes, but then there are others who are also thrown to the gender roles, that they have to look after their siblings, they have to look after their parents, they have to look after the sick, and all these bundled together, they are missing out on school while the boys are in school. So I think we have to be, the government has to be very intentional. We have the systems, we have the LCs and all this. We have to be able to look at this child from the village and make sure that she is attending school. Even those who are disabled, we've got to, when it comes to disability, still you will find that the girl child is left behind and the boy would rather go to school. So we've got to be very intentional and look out for the girl child to go to school.
All right, Dr. Patricia, you will speak about education, and I'll start with you on your final message for the women out there.
My final message about women is we shouldn't shy away from leadership, because we bring diverse perspective to leadership. I think Sheila said it in different words, but really the same message about the difference we make because we are nurtured to be managers. So there's that perspective we bring to the table. Also, women leaders like ourselves here break the stereotype. Like some of us grew up wondering who is the role model. Maybe there's just one out there. And many of our role models, I recall for me, one of my role models of all time is Winnie Mandela. Very far out there because of what she stood for. In Uganda, maybe there was just one or none. But now there's so many women you can look and like, I want to be like so-and-so. Or women can also be doctors. Or women can also be engineers. Women can be journalists. Women can head media organizations. Women can be in the boardroom. Like Sheila said, the spaces they fought for. I am now on the New Vision board because women like her fought for those spaces during her period and many years after. It was just a men's world, you know? So for me, the message on Women's Day that yes, women can be leaders. We have our shortcomings like any challenges. We should prepare women and we should also be able to listen. We should also move away from the Queen Bee syndrome of, oh, Patricia, I've arrived. I don't know about the rest of you. You also find your way. Yes? Anita said it, hold another woman's hand. I am here because other women held my hand. So for me, Happy Women's Day, Happy Women's Month. Don't drop the baton. Let's fight for the woman. Let's be in these spaces.
Sheila, your message to the women?
Yes, to me, education is key. Education is, as a teacher, I would say every woman deserves the education. But I have a question again. Is the education we are getting the right education to determine whether women can do it or not? I think, to me, we need to also rethink the education system. And to me, children or students or human beings should not be judged in
the grades.
Just grading them. We need to look at other things that we can train our women. Public speaking, negotiations, how to make sales, marketing, and then so that somebody doesn't feel like, I'm a school dropout, I can be nothing. You can be anything. If we can just, I don't know what is being done in the skilling institutions, which I've seen mushrooming across the country, but I would say that get in all our girls who were impregnated, girls who have been married off at those early stages, and train them. All these things of value addition we are talking about. Women, we are brilliant. Even if I didn't have a PhD, I may not have the masters Sheila has and whatever, but I can still be very beneficial to this country. So education should be, to me, restructured and not used as a tool to determine whether I am capable or not.
Okay. Yeah. Anita, your message as we wind up this.
Well, my message is economic empowerment for the women. Because you may be educated, you have your degrees, you have your doctorate, but once you don't have economic empowerment, you are not going anywhere as a woman. Yes, that's my message.
Very brief and simple. Just have your money. It is okay. There can be money of your family. Yours, have your money. I will take your last message, Charity, as we get out of here.
So two things. Thank you to all the people who have watched. My brothers have been here saying, go girl, go girl. I've seen all your messages. Thank you very much. And of course, Richard Chiboijana is our family member. He has been watching. Thank you very much that I'm a great woman. That's what he's...
Oh,
you are. Only today or always?
So the winding up message, invest in a woman and progress society. Investing in a woman may not just be money. It may be academic investment. It may be support mechanism for her to be where she has to be. Invest in that woman. Tomorrow you will reap big from that investment. People who have invested in women have not got it wrong at all. Their homes are flourishing. They have the Bafu-Deckers in their accounts. They have big bank accounts. Make sure that woman has economic empowerment. Don't stand in the way, don't impede. Open shops for women and be there to support them to run that business. Be there to help them to take their children to school. When you see her struggling, when she's sitting on a border, when there is something not working, when her car has broken down, go work on it. Make sure she's happy. Keep the woman happy. Invest in her. I said the investment can be financial, it may be non-financial, and you don't need to exploit her because you've given her money. Don't think that because I have supported you this way, therefore first give me mpanku way. Kill it. Support her from a good place because you are advancing society. That's my message.
All right, thank you very much. And to all the women, I mean, what more can I say? We've talked about quite a lot here that we need to do. If it's about education, let's go for it. If it's about investment, let's do it in the women. And also, when you are in that leadership position, please, you're not just there because you're a woman. Make your mark before you get to leave that position. Well, that's all we had time for on the Media Roundtable. Thank you so much for joining us. A special thank you to you, Sheila. Thank you for coming through. Anita, Charity, it's always a pleasure. And Dr. Patricia, thank you for being lethal with the,
very lethal.
with the points about Women's Day celebration. And I continue to wish you a lovely one. Good morning.